February 12th, 2024. My name is Bernie Schultz, and I am the Ward 1 Counselor hosting this meeting. Tonight we have Executive Director Megan Donahue of the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority, and we also have Fitchburg Airport Manager Peter Kettle. They're going to make presentations and answer any questions you might have. So we'll start with Megan tonight and go from there.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
So, Counselor was telling me that the last time I was here was in 2021, and at that time we were creating an urban renewal plan amendment. We were in the throes of researching and writing and working with our consultants and doing tons of walks and things like that. Well, a year later, in 2022, it was approved both at the local level and at the state level. However, we had to wait another year until we had something called the MEPA process approved. And MEPA is the Massachusetts Environmental Act. And that is a very, very tough process, so it took us a whole nother year to have that approved. So, in July of 2023, our plan finally became approved. And what I mean by that is that we can actually use it. And the Redevelopment Authority uses the plan as their guiding post to do any projects within the district. And I'll talk about the district in a second. But this is it. For those that are in the audience, it's pretty dense and meaty. But within it, it outlines objectives and goals to help within the district any redevelopment projects. And that could include public-private partnerships with developers. It could be us purchasing or even going through eminent domain to obtain properties, or it could be working with the city to partner on projects to maybe create some new revitalized area. Currently, we have the downtown redevelopment district, but I know this doesn't impact your ward, but we are starting to do the early work to get a consultant for the Lower Cleghorn area to do another urban renewal district. So we'll be including that in our repertoire. And it will be a separate district altogether, so we'll have different goals and objectives, different boundaries, and so forth. Excuse me. So that is the plan in a nutshell. If you want to read it, it's on our webpage at fitchburgredevelopment.com. We have both the 2020 plan and 2040 plan. They're 20-year plans that are actually not set in stone. They can be amended. They can have the goals and objectives changed, but we have to get state approval for it. We're not a city office. There's often confusion with that. But our oversight is the state, and they approve our changes to our plan. If we buy or sell a property, we have to notify them, and so forth. I report to a board of directors of 5 members, 4 appointed by the mayor, 1 by the governor, and that is our only relationship with the city in terms of oversight is our board appointees.
Water Street area.
Yes, we are here to talk. I just wanted to give a rundown of what the plan is. So in 2021, 22, and later 23, we're looking at the plan online right now. We changed our boundaries. What we did was amend the 2020 plan. It's a whole new plan, really, but it's an amendment because we used the same outline, but we took away some boundary and we added some boundary. And what that included was, and I'll start from left to right, going down River Street and then going north to the Long Joe Middle School, reducing some of the Fitchburg State University, and then adding Water Street. Which before it went to Market Basket, but now goes all the way down to where the discount store, the discount flea market, I don't know what it's called.
The former Grossman's Lumber Company.
Yes, thank you.
Jack Hoover's, yeah, Halloween costume world. Yeah.
So what does that mean for the Redevelopment Authority looking at this area? Well, it's not that we're going to go and destroy all these buildings and take all these families' homes or anything like that. what we do is we work in partnership with the property owners to maybe come up with a solution that they might have on their minds. We want to work with them first. That's our very first line. The next thing is the Redevelopment Authority's Board of Directors wants to pursue something a little stronger and there's some resistance, then we might take legal action through eminent domain. It's our very last resort, though, because we have to come up with a good argument as to why we did it. We have to also make sure that we tried to negotiate, and that's a state mandate that we have to negotiate. And we want to work with people too. We're not ogres at all. So like I said, we expanded down to Water Street, and if you want to, yep, thank you. So we identified a number of properties, and I'm sorry I don't have them parsed out on a map. I didn't have enough time to do that, but these are the ones that were identified in our plan, and some people are probably looking at this and saying, I live here, or I own that. What are you going to do? Well, again, it's a 20-year plan, and we could maybe work with the owner of the property. We could maybe not do anything at all. Things could change. Our urban renewal plan right now, from 2020 to 24, from 2001 to 2020, a lot of properties were identified, but because there's a lot of momentum of change going on, we lost the map, or lost the list. Because of the momentum of change, we didn't need to identify those properties anymore for change. So that's a good thing, right? We want that to happen. We want redevelopment to happen on its own through kind of an organic grassroots type thing. So, but these are the ones that we've identified so far. And I didn't know how many people would be here, but I wanted to, so as you can see, they're mainly along Water Street and Hale Street and Middle Street and 2nd and 1st Streets. These are little the ones on the right-hand side, the 1st Street down to Hale Street, are little minute, minuscule parcels, but the other ones are bigger. So we thought we could cluster them, these little teeny properties, with the Water Street ones. But in the plan, you'll notice, if you take a moment to read it, some concept ideas, and it doesn't mean that will happen, but we have some good plans that we'd like to maybe tackle from those conceptual ideas. For example, we would like to do a welcome center along the rail trail. We would like to provide some housing across the street from that discount store. And then we would like to work with the property owners who own these properties to maybe get some help or redevelop them ourselves. So. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah. So if you go to the next. So I was going to ask, I didn't know how many we would have, but what would you like to see in this area? I mean, this is what we're here for, is to get ideas. We want to work for the community. So we have 3 people.
Mine's more of a question.
Sure.
I remember forgive my memory, August, September, it was talked that the Water Street Bridge was going to come down. And the state was going in to bring in a whole new bridge that was supposed to start last fall, as I understood it. Is that all going to be part of this, or is that going to be separate of what you're doing, or going to do?
I think Ms. Murphy from the Planning Department can answer that, but that's not part of our purview in this plan.
That's all going to change that whole infrastructure right there.
Yeah, it sure
bridge.
will.
The Water Street Bridge that's going between
Main Street
Main
and
Street and
Florida.
Water Street,
That's all coming out.
that is going to happen. It's up to the state we're on the state's timeline.
Yeah.
So they're managing that.
I don't think it's this year.
It's not this year.
Not this
I think it was 2025 is the last thing I heard. And they'll have detours, of course.
Yeah.
At times, one lane open.
Well, Mike, I guess in retrospect, how is that going to impact the changes that you're going to make?
Sure.
Is it how it's going to lead into that bridge and Kimball, whatever the name of the street, I can't think of it offhand, but how's that going to impact what you're gonna do.
Well,
Is that gonna
remember our
change your
plan is,
timeline?
no, I mean, we don't, so since our plan was approved in July, we're starting to identify properties now for redevelopment. We're also looking at our budget. This is our budget time. We just renewed our budget in January, so we're trying to figure out, and we work with Liz Murphy's office too, to try to figure out what should take priority. And that's why I wanted to ask the audience too, is what is your priority for down Water Street? Because I know that's the area that you all, that's part of the ward that you're in, so.
Yeah.
Sure.
The old former Giordano's.
That's 325 Water Street.
Yeah.
Is that listed?
And across the street is an empty lot that's now there, next to Fitchburg. The housing thing there is an empty lot. And then up further towards the river, there's a lot of houses that aren't there anymore. Past First Street.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And
So,
on the other side of the street, there's houses that have gone, and Hill Street had some big fires there.
oh, really? It's before my time. So you bring up something good. So, like I said at the beginning, we can amend our plan. So if we wanted to move our border just a little bit to encapsulate some of those properties on River Street that may not be captured on here or something like that, we can do that. We can amend with state's approval to change.
What exactly is, I'm gonna word this, what exactly are you looking to do along Main Street? You're gonna change the size of the buildings, you're gonna put in parks? I mean, what is this redevelopment gonna be? I mean,
Well, there's a lot of factors that are involved, right? So one would be first to work with the property owners to redo their building. So if the buildings remain as is, but they're redeveloped maybe into housing or mixed use with commercial on the bottom and residential on the upper floors, we would love to work with those folks. Or even the church to redevelop that, or the rectory or anything like that. If there is a building that is absolutely non-safable, then maybe we could work out something where another building could go there, or like the place that you were talking about before, the other side, that's been vacant for quite some time. So maybe it's taking that property to build housing. In the concept, it's townhouses. But if that's not what the neighbors want, we want to work with the neighbors too to build something.
444 Water Street, which used to be the old registry building, and
Oh, yeah.
was New Players, where I went to fill out my draft forms way back when. But the whole backside of it, other buildings aren't all that great, that they're part of it.
Right.
so the redevelopment of Water Street basically is both gonna be both commercial and private? That's what you're trying to do?
Yes. Ideally, if you've looked at the changes along Main Street, it's a slow go, but there's been changes, right? So we want the developers to purchase the buildings or the current owners to develop the property. So we work with them through providing funding, grants. We created grants to help activate buildings, things like that, to incentivize the redevelopment.
Are you looking to build buildings itself and then sell them, or are they just looking for the property owners to upgrade theirs, or?
I can't answer that for the city because we're not a city office, but I'm sure, Liz and I talk on a almost weekly basis, and we're actually on the same page about a lot of things. So I think we would propose things. I mean, I have to get board approval. I can't just say, hey, I want to take this property through eminent domain and make, a water park there or something, So I would work with our board. I'd work with Liz's office. I'd work with the neighbors too, and the developer themselves, so.
But you're talking about downtown housing.
Well, I was just giving an example of how slow it's gone, but it's happened, and we worked with developers downtown. We hope to extend that down Water Street and the other new borders that we have.
But you're not generating money to the city. Whereas if you brought a business in instead of housing, we're already a better community.
Well,
now.
property owner provides taxes, right? So even if they do build housing. So if it's an apartment building, they still provide taxes to the city.
It would also need more schooling, more water.
You're absolutely
more
correct.
resources, so it ends up costing the city. So is the trade-off worth it?
That's what the developer has to research themselves, and they have to go through the planning process. So site plan review and zoning. We talked about zoning board before the meeting started, and all that. And that's up to the city to work with the developer themselves. We are here to provide incentives to the developers, as well as we can buy and sell properties and develop them ourselves or sell them to a developer that would take over.
You got one project proposed for the corner of Day Street in Maine, and then another one at 128 units, I think. That will be full market value, that would be. And then another one planned for between Snow Street and North Street.
We sold that property. That was a redevelopment
And
authority
They've
property.
taken Cherry Street, so that makes it very difficult for our parishioners at Rollstone
sure.
to get to the church, because Snow Street is a one-way street down.
So we sold that to a private developer with some conditions that has to align with our plan, which he's meeting in terms of what he's proposed to sell to developer, because he goes through the permitting process and then he sells it to developers, investors.
From what I understand, the infrastructure of the water is not going to be able to support both of them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you could talk somewhat about the rail trail and what effect that might have on that Water Street area that
Sure.
you're referring
Well,
to.
The next phase of it.
Next phase of it, yeah.
We don't have much to do with that, but we would certainly like to have some part into it. What I can tell you is that we, in our plan, identify a connector through the city, through downtown, from that trail, the trailhead up at the intermodal station right now. So we would like to connect that with the green spaces, kind of like in Boston, downtown, so the parks, and all the way to Crocker Field to make an east-west.
With the National River Watershed meeting the other night, some of the things were proposed about possibly being able to connect the steam trail down to really make a complete thing all the way up.
And I'd love to work with them. Yeah.
All the way up to Wachusett Station.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of hands right now in the rail trail, but if they need help, we'd love to help out.
All right, any other questions for Megan before we turn it over to Peter Kettle, the airport manager? If not, thank you.
One more slide. If you need to
Oh, you don't-
contact me, that's my information. Or you can stop in. I love it when people come in and visit. Hal comes to visit me once in a while. Bernie does too. It was nice to see him the other day. So feel free to come in. If you have any more questions, you can call, email me, or stop by. I'm there from 8:30 to 4:30.
She's on Boulder Drive, by the way.
Yes, we're in the former GE property, which we own, and we redeveloped over time. So thank you.
Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Peter, you're on,
Thank you.
whenever you're ready.
And I can get out of this?
Just X out of it.
Yeah.
I did notice, Megan, that the Johnsonia lot, we talked about that back in 2021. Any news on that?
I'm writing an RFP right now to see who would be interested in it. We're not attaching any fees or or cost measures with it. We want to see what there is of an interest. We get and I know Liz does too, we get a lot of calls about it. So instead of just say,
A lot of people have to be satisfied.
Yes.
Because they've gone condos, so they all own part of that.
so one of the powers that the Redevelopment Authority has is that we can do an outright sale. So if somebody came in today, say Hal came in and said, I want to buy the lot, and the board said, okay, what are you going to do there? If it aligns with our plan, we can sell it right then and there. We don't have to go through the city's procurement red tape process. But instead of doing that, because we've had it for a year now, we thought it would be best to see what kind of interest there is. We've had people come and say they want to build a hotel there, a mixed-use place. Like, we've had a ton of interest, but I really want to see when the pen hits the paper, what's going to
It would
happen.
be great to have a hotel there like it was years ago.
That's a great question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
The only thing that's really on Putnam Street there is Putnam Street bowling lanes. All the other things are vacant.
Yeah, that's true. All right, thank you, Megan, for that last question. Answered it. Peter, you're on.
Good evening, everyone. When Bernie contacted me about possibly giving a little presentation on the airport, I jumped at it because even today, believe it or not, in 2024, there's still people in Fitchburg and Leominster that don't know there's an airport at Fitchburg today.
They don't know it's been updated.
So they don't, sir. They don't. So basically, this presentation really is in two forms, one for aviation and one for non-aviation property. So I'd like to start off with the airport and talk about aviation use first. Now, if we look at the airport, you can see you've got the runway going up, straight up the actual slide there. That is a disused runway. That was removed when we had the new 3214 extended runway installed in 2019. The property just to the right of that vertical runway is FACT, which is the Fitchburg Airport Condominium Trust. There's 57 hangars in there with 57 aircraft in there. In total, we have 126 airplanes that actually fly out of Fitchburg. And if we look at the property area, you see that little one bounce in. That is the new Life Flight hangar that's being built. It's almost complete. They will actually get into that hangar around about middle of March. They're fully operational now. And if you go down to the airport, you will see that there's 3 RVs parked just to the left-hand side, coming down the main drive. And that's where the pilots and the resident EMTs live 24 hours a day. And they have changing, they change every actual period that they're in operation there. So
Is that a private concern?
Pardon me?
Is that a private concern?
It is, sir. It is. If you look at this one here, just bouncing in, that was actually taken by a gentleman by Joe Spinelli. He was going to build a hangar there, but due to the current state of the economy, the price of a hangar has gone up by 30%. And to build that hangar was going to cost him almost $1.4 million. So he's actually backed out of that, and we're going to wait for a better time when the economy gets better to resubmit the RFP. Now, if we look over here, you can see there's approximately 22 acres of property there where we have the opportunity to put in new hangars. So in discussion with the FAA and MassDOT, they came up with a plan through our company that does the development for us. There's another 57 T hangars going in there, 3 sections. And then we have another 11 larger hangars that can take larger aircraft. And all of these will be private. I'd like to get a loan from the city for about $3 million to build them ourselves. And if we did, we could pay that back in about 27 years, charging them good money, which people are prepared to pay. There's not one week that goes by that I don't get asked, do you have any hangars? Do you have any hangars? Do you have any hangars? People are moving out of the big airports and coming to us because we now have that 5,001-foot runway that will take small jets. So on top of that, we have another 10 large hangars for commercial jets. seating up to about 14 to 18 people. So 10 additional hangars here. And just to let you know, these are the companies, some of the corporate ones that fly in to the airport. Chick-fil-A, Collins Foundation, the Clover Group, Koch Industries is the second largest company in North America, Koch. McCoy Group, Peterbilt, Schwartz Paper, U-Haul, Ufkus Group, which is the chip company, and Utz. Now, this is the largest one we've had in so far. Doesn't look very big, does it? But that'll seat about 40 people. And if you see just under that wing there, I'm going to make it bigger. That's me standing underneath the wing. That's the size of that aircraft. He took off and landed in approximately 3,000 feet, and we've got a 5,001-foot runway. It was quiet. It was absolutely beautiful. And that's the plane going down the taxiway. The wingspan's 104 feet. It's the largest plane we had. We had to do a lot of investigative work around the airport, around the runways, to make sure that when he lands, the wingspan itself doesn't touch any protrusions that actually come up out of the ground. So that was a great one. Now, I'm sure if you've been down to the airport, you've seen these old hangars. You're looking at about 1929 when they were installed at the airport. To replace those hangars, you can see the doors are a mess. There's two of those, hangars 2 and 3. It was going to cost us approximately $1 million each to replace those hangars. So we got a grant from MassDOT Aeronautics for $127,000, and we refurbished the hangars. So that now is a totally updated hangar with much better doors. The people that are in there, there's 5 aircraft in there, all paying a good rent per month. Really, that's virtually paid for itself. And that's the second one down the far end, as you can see. And then I took this morning. There's the Life Flight helicopter, together with the new hangar that's being built. And I'm sure you're going to say, well, why is that door blue when the rest are white? They made a mistake, and they put a blue door on, and they're coming in spring, and they're going to paint that door white so that we have a beautiful matching section down the ramp area. So getting into a little bit more detail, you all know the airport trailer park along Crawford Street, which is today Big Tex Trailers. They were paying to the airport about $2,200 a year for leasing that property. It's not a good place to be, in all honesty. The only place without spending millions of dollars to flatten it all out was a trailer park. But now they're paying $22,000 a year. They're paying the going rate. We charge 50 cents a square foot for any leased property today. We were very fortunate through Liz's team to get a company called VHB Consultants. They're engineers, scientists, planners, come on, I hate this, and designers, and they say they deliver future-focused solutions that shape more sustainable, resilient, and equitable communities. And you can tell I like using PowerPoint, so I draw all the logos out and make them active, but it just adds a little bit more flair to the presentation, I think. Now we can move actually into the non-aviation. So non-aviation use, what have we got? We've got 12 acres circa, 12.2 acres just here. And then going down Crawford Street, we have another 4.3, I believe, from my memory. So down here we've got 4.3 acres, so about 15.5 acres. What can we do with it? Well, VHB, the consultant, came up with this as a proposal. Now, you saw that little one bounce in. This is something that every pilot that flies into Fitchburg asks me for. When are we getting the restaurant back? Well, we're doing an RFEI at the moment to actually include the restaurant in the RFEI. There's, I don't know, can't remember. Liz, can you? Request for expression of interest. Thank you. So there's 8,000 square feet there, and that includes the parking area as well, but you've got the massive parking area just to the front of the new administration building. So what did they come up with? You can see Crawford Street, you can see the railway line, you can see Crawford Street just in front, above the railway line, and this was the first option that they offered us, a very, very large warehouse here. Now, if you think about an airport with a runway where people can fly in, like UPS or FedEx or anybody that's got a manufacturing facility, like for the new vertical helicopters that are electricity powered, massive opportunity to have the site where there's already an airport and a runway. So that was the first solution that they came up. It's non-aviation, but I just thought I'd put my plane flying through there just to show you that you're still going to see the planes flying. So basically what this offers to any potential customer is a 241,000 square foot warehouse, 784,000 square foot total ground area, which will provide the airport an annual revenue of $392,000. $392,000. What does it do for the city? Well, the annual property tax is 1.06 million as a property tax, and then also 160 new jobs that will create. So not only developing the airport, but also developing the infrastructure with the people within the city, providing more jobs, etc., etc., etc. And the second one they showed us, or they offered us, was 2 warehouses, a smaller size, but a nice hotel right on the edge of Crawford Street. So that in itself was going to bring us again an annual revenue of $392,000, annual property tax of $1.195 million, together with the room tax, and also another 150 new jobs. So not only developing the airport, but providing a beautiful infrastructure for the city for people to go and work there. And then, do you know where this is? This is down Crawford Street. You can see the warehouse on the right-hand side. I think that's the big metal fabrication shop. I don't know the name, forgive me. But this is the development that could take place down Crawford Street. You could have small shops down there, little cafes, even a gas station, because there's no gas station close to that area. So big, big opportunities. And the RFEI, the Request for Expression of Interest, is being put together currently today by a team of 7 people. And the plan is to get that sent out for adjudication around about the end of March. And under those conditions, those 7 people, or whatever comes into this as an expression of interest, the best ones will be chosen. There is a category for each. There's 3 categories. And obviously we'll choose the ones that we see to be the most benefit to the city and the airport. And hopefully, from that, there will be a massive development going on down there that will benefit everyone.
And all of this is proposed on what? The city paying for this?
Oh, no. The city pays for nothing, sir. The city is paying nothing for the airport at the moment.
That you're saying that the people that will come to build these things, they're going to be to pay it, so that it's on the proposal that we're going to get investors to come to do this.
Yes, sir. So it's totally self-sufficient. They will pay the rent, they will pay the taxes, they will pay for everything. And that's all in the RFP.
Peter, maybe you should explain that this non-aviation land, you can only lease it, you can't sell the land.
All right. Yeah, well, I was coming to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Bernie. Thank you.
That might
Now, the conclusions that VHB came up with, based on these findings, the project team recommends that the city and the airport advance efforts to lease, for private sector development, ideally a mix of industrial, retail and hotel. One of the areas that I didn't show right at the very, very start was the property that's to the west of the airport, in between the main runway and the river, the Nashua River. That area is bound. You cannot get any vehicles in there. So the only thing that we came up with approximately 10 years ago was a solar farm at that time. but the current mayor at the time didn't want to get involved in that. But now we've got an opportunity to go forward and get a solar farm built there. We're currently dealing with a company called Verigy, and they are coming up with plans to actually, hopefully, supply enough electricity to actually power the wastewater plant that's down there, which is just off, what's the street that goes at the back of the airport?
Hamilton Street.
Hamilton Street, thank you. So to power that, and at the same time provide a standby system instead of putting in a standby generator with a diesel engine or a gasoline engine, actually have a battery pack, a massive battery pack that could power the airport if we got a shutdown. So just imagine the airport is a lot of control lights on it. For pilots, when they're coming in, it tells them exactly what height they should be when they're approaching the airport so that they don't go into anything. And also there's a runway entry light as well for inclement weather. So everything's planned around this to make the airport a better place. We've also recently just put together a noise abatement system. We have a lot of complaints down at the airport about noise. Well, if you imagine an aircraft takes off, it then goes off, and then it takes what they call the left crosswind, because it's a left pattern airport. So they go up to about 800 feet, and then it's full power straight up to the pattern altitude at 1,350 feet. So all the houses below there are hearing this massive engine noise all the time. Maybe 10, 15, 20 planes an hour. So what we did in conjunction with the flight school there is we came up with a new pattern. We're flying straight out to pattern altitude, which takes us over where the junction of the 190 and Route 2 is. No houses there. And then they go across crosswind, already at pattern altitude. So it's taking all the noise away. We trialled it for 1 month. Got no complaints whatsoever. But now we've stopped the trial and we're getting complaints again. So we can't just make that change by ourselves. It has to go before the FAA, the Federal Aviation Authority. And once that's approved, it will go on to the actual schedule on the airport. So if a pilot goes in and looks at what the airport has, it'll say that you cannot turn crosswind at 800. You have to go up to pattern altitude.
What's the average amount of flights in and out of Fitchburg in a day? You know?
The average?
Yeah.
It could be up to 100. That's not jets. That's the training people.
They fly over my house.
What the jets do?
Every once in a great while, he makes a circle and he
Oh,
comes
right.
over the house. Not
Where
all.
do you live, sir?
I live on Forest Street.
Okay,
Not
that's
far from where Bernie lives.
right,
You know,
right, right,
Charles off of South Street.
right, right,
Every once in a while, we hear the jet.
right.
Not really that loud.
No, they're not.
No.
I mean, the technology today is so good with the new engines, it's really great. So if we look at the actual condition for what I call the north side of the airport, the ground lease, over 160 jobs, 14.5 million over 10 years to the city. The second option that I showed you was 150 jobs with a hotel and Crawford Street. $15.8 million to the city. And then it says land sale, 18 acres, assumes a mix of warehouse, real estate and hotel. But we cannot sell it because the FAA controls. We are a grant-approved airport. We can only rent the property because what they want to see is us becoming more and more self-sustaining so that we can pay for new hangars and new runways and everything ourselves instead of getting the grants from the FAA. So we're making good headway at the moment, and if you've got any questions, I will gladly answer them for you.
So what is the deadline, Peter, for the expressions of interest?
To get this done, well, I think it's going to be a long-term thing, in all honesty. Liz may be able to offer better from her perspective and the job that she does, but in all honesty, if we can get a couple of people within the next 5 or 6 months to actually apply for the RFP and win the RFP, they can start straight away. So initially we should have something operating there, I believe, within the next 2 years, and then it'll be after that. But I bow down to...
I think the RFEI was, we were going to have that out for like 5 or 6 weeks,
Yes.
something like that. And I don't know if they were still on, if the procurement department was still on track with getting it out mid-February.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, they are.
any day now it should come out. And then 5 or 6 weeks, it'll be available. So mid-March, late March,
Mid to end
something
March,
like that.
Yeah.
To have those expressions of interest, and then only those selected that have good proposals can advance to the next stage, which is a formal proposal. Then it all starts to be formal. The RFEI is an informal process where the proposer's not really committing themselves to anything, and we can start to get a sense of what is out there, what developers are actually interested in. Does that make sense?
Have any
Putting
expressed
feelers
interest
out.
at this point, Liz? Have anybody contacted you?
Well, there has been somebody who's been very interested in developing a restaurant there, and I think would love to partner with a hotel developer, but not really at liberty to say who that is.
Yeah, I understand that.
But certainly will be very aggressive about the hotel side. Fitchburg desperately needs a hotel.
Yeah, we desperately need a hotel in Fitchburg. Yeah.
What was that?
That'd be a good idea for hotel.
Yeah, I think so. We're losing quite a bit of potential income to other communities when places like Game On have big events.
Right.
On the weekends, they're not looking at Great Wolf. That's too expensive, right? They're going to Leominster, to Gardner, to all the way out to Devon's and Concord, I think, sometimes. Yeah.
We're definitely losing revenue. And
Yeah.
even like local things like the Street Hockey League, where they have tournaments come in, and there's just not enough rooms for those people that come from out of town. You know?
We have some great assets. We want people to stick around for a little while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the city seal.
You're going to have to update that now.
I'll update it when we put the aircraft on it.
Okay. All right.
As you all know, what I call it the great city of Fitchburg, a town in 1764, and then a city in 1872. But in 1845, Albert Crocker, one of the large paper mill owners at the time, couldn't get his paper stock to the port of Boston quickly enough using horse and cart. So what they did, he actually built his own railway line. And that's where that came in on the actual seal. Now, between 1764 and 1872, 1845 was, yes, and then in 1929, we actually got the airport. So for me, being the airport manager at the moment, I honestly believe the airport is the jewel in the crown for the city of Fitchburg because of what it offers. You know, you can get to the airport from anywhere in the world. Just fly in, anywhere. Now, you can't take a ship. Well, you can, but it takes months to get from anywhere else in the world to Boston. But with the airport here and our new runway, this really opens up. So basically what I'd like to see coming out of that diamond, if you look at it, is an aircraft. And I'd like to see that aircraft on the new city seal. We've got the paper mill. We've got everything else on the seal. The airport's a very valuable part of the city. And I believe it should be on there because it's historical, just the same, 1929. So the city council actually listened to me and they said, yes, we'll look into it. And they have to change an ordinance or something to get it done. Is it an ordinance to put it on?
Sure they
Yeah.
would have.
Yes, it
Right.
would have to be an ordinance.
So watch this space, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Any further questions for
Get it
Peter?
off the ground.
Pardon me?
You just got to get it off the ground.
What, you mean the airplane?
The ordinance.
The ordinance.
I understand. I understand.
Morning, my puns are bad and get worse.
All right, well, thank you, Peter, for
You're welcome.
that great presentation, and also Megan for your presentation as well. I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight, And our next Ward 1 community meeting will be Monday, March 11th, 2024, at 6:30 PM right here in the Legislative Building. So, good night, and thank you.